Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We have a special guest in the building. He's running for mayor of New York City.
Yes, indeed.
Ray McGuire. Ray McGuire. Welcome, sir.
What's up?
How's
How
it
y'all
going?
doing, Breakfast Club?
We blessed, black, and highly favored. How you doing, King?
I'm blessed, black, and highly favored in the house.
Ray
So what's
McGuire,
wrong?
who's got endorsements from Nas and Steve Stout and
Puff,
Hove and
Angie
Diddy
Martinez.
and Angie Martinez, Rev Run, Andre Harrell before he passed away. Why are all of these guys and women endorsing Ray McGuire?
You know, I've known these guys for a long time, man. We kind of grew up, come from the same neighborhood. We all come from the bottom. And, as they was growing up, I was growing up. Mm-hmm. So we got that kind of relationship. They came up the hard way. I came up the hard way. And so we got to a point where, things turned pretty good for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship is, we maintained that relationship.
How did y'all know each other? Like what business or if it's, same circles? How?
Yeah, man, I go back with them cats to Jelly Bean Benitez. So this goes back when they were starting out.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were starting in the music business. I was starting in the finance industry. And so we kind of hooked up along the way.
So what makes you want to jump into this crazy race in New York City?
Man, I love the city,
Mm-hmm.
for one. City's been everything to me. It's where I met my beautiful wife, my better three-quarters wife. We got 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Leo is 8, Ella, who's 18, and Cole, is playing in the league. Drafted first round in NBA, now playing for the Magic. City's been great to me personally. And professionally, this city's been great to me. When I came into this world, there was only 1 or 2 people look like me in the world of corporate finance. So I had to kick down doors and extend ladders, make certain other folks got in. And it's probably the case I've created more jobs and got more people paid and created more wealth than all the rest of the candidates combined. But right now, this city is broke. It's broken and it's divided. We need something. We need somebody to come in here who's got some credibility, got a track record. As you all say, I got receipts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's up with this. Our people need help, man.
Why do you think the city's so bad? It's so broke down, like you said. Not just financially, morally, and the way the people feel.
This has been going down long before COVID. COVID just exacerbated the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It exposed what we had and kind of the systemic inequities in education, in healthcare, in the economy, and in the criminal justice system. This is not new. We just haven't had a leader who stood up to say we're going to make a difference. Right now we need to stand up because this thing is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we stand up today, it's, the prospects for us are not good.
Do you think, not being a New York native puts you at a disadvantage?
No, I don't. I've been here 40 years, man. I've been on the ground for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
I came here in, 1980s, which is where I met a lot of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it puts me at a disadvantage at all. I've been involved in the fabric of New York City, helping out, making certain folks got paid, making certain folks got jobs. So I don't think I think it gives me another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a New York perspective. I got a Dayton, Ohio perspective, which is where I grew up. So I got a lot of perspectives. I bring all that to bear, which allows me, quite candidly, given that the city is divided, to be maybe the only one who can bring the city together.
What was the deciding factor for you to run? What was the thing you were sitting at home and you saw something and you said, I got to get in this?
And I'm looking across the whole landscape of where we are economically and looking at where we are educationally. And I look at that, man, I'm saying we got to do something. I'm also looking across to see where's the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys who've been in this game for a long time. I'm not a politician, but I'm looking at what they've been able to do. They had their chance. I'm just looking at where we are across all those spectrums. And we're going behind. For the past 7 years, we have gone behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point, somebody's got to stand up. I see what you guys are doing out there representing every way you can. So, I've been behind the scenes. My words should be known by your deeds and not by your words. So I've been invested. I've been known by my deeds, helping folks out, helping an entire community out. And I look at the picture. I look at how bad COVID is. So we got to do something. I can't stand on the sidelines.
What's the first thing you want to do with New York City as far as helping the city and definitely helping our community?
Jobs, man. I got no job. 2 things. Jobs. I got no jobs. I got no city. I got no job. I got no dignity. So I got to get jobs. I got to get people working, which is my comeback plan. I've said I want to lead the greatest, most inclusive economic comeback plan in the history of this city, 500,000 jobs. Mm-hmm. Go big, go small, go forward, helping out small businesses, making certain that the MWBEs get included, which we haven't. I got to make the street safe.
How do you plan to create those jobs?
My job, so go big, go small, go forward. Go big, 500,000 jobs. Let me tell you about go small first, because that's the lifeblood. Go small is half of New Yorkers work in small businesses. So what I intend to do is to get 50,000 jobs in small businesses, take care of half of the wages for 1 year, 50% of the wages for 1 year. And then I want to make certain that those New York City sales tax receipts that they generate, negotiating to see if they can't keep a large percentage of the New York City sales tax receipts. And then I'm going to make certain I got a comeback bank. I'm going to put money into the CDFIs, $50 million or so into the CDFIs, to make certain that we do training, workforce training, kind of vocational training, to meet New Yorkers where they are, 15,000 of them, bridge, get them where they are educationally for the jobs today and jobs of the future. I'm also going to waive all the fees that people have to generate. When it comes to the restaurants, many of our restaurants have gotten 45 to 45 fines from 7 different agencies. I got to intervene there because this is, we can't have the restaurants that employ a lot of people. We got to make sure the restaurants are up and running. And I'm going to have a deputy mayor for small businesses and MWBEs so that we get involved in a lot of the contracts. That's going to be key. So it is essentially investing in the small businesses, having a deputy mayor for small businesses that let us know that this is a concierge. We want the businesses here. That's 50,000 businesses. And I'm going to go to infrastructure. Infrastructure is going big. I got to fix the fractured bridges and the sewage mains. I got to invest in affordable housing. And we got to get broadband. You got 1.5 million New Yorkers don't have broadband or don't have tablets. So we want to focus on that. And then I got to focus on the artistic community, right? I'm going to have a comeback festival, which is going to last for a year. 1,000 artists get incentivized to be here. Have a competition, if you will. 5 boroughs have commission for 5 artists in 5 different boroughs. Remember when we wrap Central Park with Christo and Jean-Claude, do that in each of the boroughs. So I'm going to do that. And then when it comes to going forward, I got to invest in technology. And what does that mean? I got to get all the entrepreneurs together, invest in technology, and invest in the MWBEs, the black and brown businesses. In 2020, City spent $22.5 billion. $22.5 billion. 82% or 8 to 10 out of the MWBEs got zero. Nothing. Zero. Bupkis. And of the money that the MWBEs got 1.9 billion, less than 5%. I'm going to change it. We got to change that. We got to be intentional, which is why my plan says the greatest, most inclusive economic comeback in this history.
Now, what do you think about the way that the mayor handled COVID this time around and what he did, and he closed the businesses and everything that happened? Would you have handled it differently? What would you have done differently?
We knew when COVID got here, we knew it was going to have a disproportionate impact on our community. We knew that. We just didn't plan for it. And we also got to plan for the impact of those who have survived COVID, the lingering impact of COVID on those people. We haven't planned for that. So I would have planned differently. Specifically when it comes to the schools, our school kids are suffering. First of all, you got to figure out whether they got broadband. Mm-hmm. And so I got no broadband, I got no tablet. When I do have a tablet, it may not work. And Miss Rickman don't know whether or not I'm playing 2K or Minecraft because my machine is buffering and she doesn't quite understand how that goes down. Mm-hmm. And so many of our kids, if I look at NYC homes, 40 to 50% of those don't have internet access. I sit on the board of New York Public Library, and one of the things we made certain of was to make certain that our kid had Wi-Fi access in the branches. Mm. So you go to within 100 feet of the branches, and you can do your homework. You got to get through a whole bunch to get that done, but you can do your homework. And so we should have planned for that differently. Our kids are struggling, and they will continue to struggle. We need to figure out what we're going to do to make that up.
Can you go back to the public arts plan? I want you to explain how you can generate up to $1 billion in New York with your public arts plan.
No, I'm going to invest.
And you're going to invest $1 billion?
I'm going to invest. I'm going to invest. My plan, what I've outlined to you, is going to cost probably $900 million a year.
Wow.
So it's $1.8 billion, off of which I'll generate, over time, $12 billion or so.
Where's the money going to come from?
So how's the money going to work? Mm-hmm. So we got it depends on how this administration uses the dollars that we got.
Okay.
We got $5.9 billion to New York City. And so Senator Schumer's done a great job. And Congressman Meeks has done a great job getting those dollars here.
What's the money for?
What the money is, Bill, there's just 5 $5.9 million. They're using it now. He's figuring out how he uses it now.
Okay, so just for
if
infrastructure.
I use it in my operating budget, mayor's discretion, if I use it, it's got to go through the city council, obviously. If I use $5.9 billion in my operating budget, and say he uses $2.3 billion today, that leaves me $1.8 billion.
Wow.
My plan is going to cost me $900 a year, right? And then if I operate the government more efficiently, I can generate some savings there. And my jobs accelerator, which is just 50,000 jobs, is going to give me $300 million in the first year and about $600 million in the second year. So I can pay for it in my what they call operating or expense budget. I got that set. I can get that done. And then when I go build in my infrastructure, I got enough capacity in my capital budget to go build. So I got a lot of access there. So I have enough capital in my capital budget to build affordable housing, broadband, and if I benefit from what the Biden-Harris administration has done with infrastructure, you know, in the second tranche, you got $2 trillion or so. A lot of it's focused on infrastructure. And I can focus on infrastructure here to benefit from some of what they're doing.
Why is public arts important? Because some people would say, well, we got enough people that are artists. We need more people in the tech world. We need more people going to trade school. Like, why is the investment in public arts important?
It's in all of it. It is in tech. Remember, my go forward is technology. And vocational training is also part of my go forward. Art is essential. Art is essential to what we do. I've been involved in the art world for, since Harlem School of the Arts or the New Museum of Contemporary Art and International Center for Photography, lead the board of the Studio Museum in Harlem, sat on the board for the Whitney Museum almost 3 decades. So I've been involved deeply in the art world. Arts are essential, and arts education are essential to our kids. Right now, our kids don't have that. We got a lot of gifted kids, and if we invest in them and expose them to art, their worlds will change and our worlds will change. Art helps define who we are.
You're a collector too, right?
Yeah, I collect. Yeah.
That's another way to be, I guess, financial empowerment.
Don't back me up on that, because that collecting thing. Yeah. I was in that game early, like 3 decades. So ain't nobody sleeping on my art collection.
So how do you get
What's the most expensive one you got?
Oh, come on, man. Ooh, man. I got some. I can't call that out, man. It's like, I don't want to start on that. Folks be figuring out where I live.
Okay.
But let me tell you something. It ain't, you gotta have a little piece of paper to do that. When I started, when I started out, there are very few people who look like me collecting art by the people who made it, who look like me. So I decided to invest. So it goes turn of the century, Henry Ossawa Tanner, all the way up to now Deborah Roberts and Eric Adams and Julie Moretu and Glenn Ligon and Lorna Simpson. So it grows across the spectrum. Roy DeCarava, Gordon Parks, you name it. We got it.
So
when he's asleep.
You probably put a lot of those guys on, like the Jay-Z's and when they started collecting art. You probably put them on
a few of them kind of look to, I've talked to a few of them about what's going on in the art world. Yeah, the art world, listen, we got so much richness in our community, in our culture. And now it's been, people are discovering it, so the prices are going way up. Art is essential to who we are. Art, broadly defined. Art in music, art in, language. Langston Hughes. It's a great book. Langston Hughes and Roy DeCarava, The Sweet Flypaper of Life. You haven't checked it out, you should. Great photography, great language. You go that deep, right? Ellison, such great artists. And the lessons they teach us, what does Ralph Ellison say? Play the game, but don't believe in it.
That's right.
Right? So this is what's up about that. I think we need to go deep in our culture, deep with our artists, to begin to fully appreciate just how magnificent and royal we are. My collection goes from 300 Knock BC, which is, the heart of blackness. So it goes all the way across the continent of Africa, early days continent of Africa, Benin warriors, Benin bronzes, to turn of the 20th century, Black Americans. Tanner is the first black person to get discovered internationally. So we got to go that deep. So this is why I'm focused on art and the guys you talked about, and you all are at the top of that game. We celebrate that. I can't do what you do. You guys don't do what I do. I respect that. We got to respect that, which is get back to Jay and Nas and Diddy, and because we all respected each other. We all respected that we were out here. It's a big hustle in this city. You make it in this city, you got to get it done. You're done, which is how we got to develop a relationship early. Running all them cats, man. I've known them for a long time. We just took a different path.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you get people to come back to the city? So many people moved out of the city during COVID, and also, how do we stop them from pushing out of where we live? You know, they did it in Manhattan, they're doing it in Brooklyn, they're doing it in Long Island City and Queens, they're doing it in Harlem. So how do we make sure that they stop us from taking our property and get people back to the city?
This is what it comes down to, man. You need to have somebody in the room when it happens, right? We need to be able to understand the language of how this stuff goes. We need to be in the room, for one. And what I've said as I go about leading the city, the people who are going to be most impacted will be in the room. We need to have them in the room. You don't want anybody coming to your neighbor in your house to tell you how that's going to go down unless you got some say-so over it. Mm-hmm. Same thing with my administration, man. You got to respect that. And what has happened in some of these communities, and look at on who's watched this happen. Just think about this, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying the people been in the game, it's time for them to go because a lot of this stuff went down on their watch. So we got to be in the room. You got to make certain you can have a conversation. You got to have a lot of currency. A lot of that is personal currency. You need to know the language. And right now, man, it's not clear. What is very clear that language is not a language that we understand. The language of finance is what we need to be down on, right? As I've said in this thing before, and it gets to housing, we've been outside for so long that when they give us crumbs, they want us to feel full. I'm not interested in the crumbs. Matter of fact, I'm not interested in cake. I'm interested in us owning the bakeries, which is what this has got to be about. I got no economic independence. I got no economic justice. I got no social justice. It's like what we were saying. Martin Luther King Jr. said, what good does it do me to earn the right to sit at the lunch counter if I can't afford a hamburger?
Word up.
Right? We got to think beyond that. We got to make certain that we break through, which is another reason I'm decided to go forward here. We got to break through. We got one shot at this, man. One shot. We don't take this shot and get it right, we continue to slide backwards because that's what's up.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of sliding backwards, like New York has gotten bad again as far as crime. Over the past week, I think it's been like 50 shootings. Like, do you have a plan to keep the residents of New York safe as we continue to navigate through this pandemic?
Well, listen. Gun shootings are up more than 100%. Murders are up 45 to 50%.
Wow.
We got to get the guns off the street. Right? We got to get the guns off the street. We got to put whatever resources we got against those guns, get them off the street.
How do we do that?
So we got to go to where the guns are. The couple of things. We got to go. I got to hit the I-95. I got to hit that iron pipeline, which is where the guns are manufactured and how they get here. It all too easy. It is easier in some instances to get an illegal handgun than it is to get a legal tablet. Just think about how profound that is. So we got to go get the guns off the street. I'm going to put as much as we need with units that can go in and take the guns out of the neighborhood. But I also got to prevent this, right? I got
illegal guns, though, right?
Pardon?
Illegal guns.
Illegal guns.
Illegal guns.
Illegal guns.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, I'm saying it's easier to get an illegal gun than it is to get a legal tablet.
Oh, no, I'm saying you want to take the illegal guns off the street.
I want to take the illegal guns off the street.
Got you.
Right?
I was going to ask you, too, I seen yesterday that they're trying to pass a law or allow people to be able to own handguns in New York and conceal handguns. I see that's going on in the Supreme Court. What's your opinion?
Well, that's the thing, right? The Supreme Court has now just decided to take the case on whether or not you can, have
a concealed handgun in New York.
Concealed carry, right?
Right.
I'm a little nervous about that. I get the right to bear arms, but this has gotten a little out of control.
Why? Why are you nervous about it? Because we see it everywhere. We see it in Georgia. We see it in Texas. We see it in Florida. We see it in.
And you from Ohio. I'm from South Carolina.
Ohio, so I get what's going on, right?
Cases.
So I'm just a little nervous that it gets out of control, right? I respect people's right to own and bear arms. I respect that constitutional right, but I'm also thinking about where our communities are. I'm more focused on our communities today and what's taking place in our communities, which is, as you said, the numbers are going up, and we need to intervene today. It's urgent, and I need to do whatever I can to stop it. I need to prevent it. I need to get these kids early and make sure that they understand they got some alternatives. We need to start early. We need to start investing in our kids early. You know what? You know how much we pay for a student per year?
How much?
$26,000 a year. You know how much it costs for an inmate at Rikers?
Like triple that.
Triple.
It's more than triple?
$446,000.
Yikes.
One inmate?
One.
Wow.
So you know how many years of education that is? That's 15, 16, 17 years of education for one student.
That's crazy. And I don't like the law that if you get caught with a firearm, you automatically get 3 years. I think that is crazy.
That's crazy.
I think that is
Right?
crazy.
That's
Because a lot of
crazy.
kids are, you know, and you can say it's wrong, but a lot of people are carrying firearms for protection because they have to leave their neighborhood to go to school.
So
And they have
that's
to
the
leave their
culture,
But you
which
put
is
them in jail for 3 years. I don't think that's right.
So that's the culture, which is why we got intercede now, right? This is, I mean, you know, you get Jay and Nas, you get Jay, Nas, Puff, Stout, Mother Gwen Carr. All of them have said the person who can lead this thing forward is me. The reason they said that is they're looking at the entire lineup of people in this mix, right? Saying we know them all. This guy's got a plan. We betting on this one. And it comes down to how we invest in our communities. It gets back to the MWBEs, right? I got to invest today. I got to invest in education today. And I got to start it earlier than what we've started. I got to give these kids some options. They can be artists. They can go be software engineers.
That's right.
They
Go
can be
learn a
plumbers.
trade.
They can be welders. We got to expose them to them, and we also got to take care of them. We got to give them that kind of attention. You know, I was fortunate. Our kids' lives should not be determined by their zip codes. Right? And that's what's up now. We need to get the best education into our kids, and I don't care whether it's the best district schools, the best Madnick schools, the best parochial schools, or the best charter schools. I want the parents to have choice, but I want to take the education into our neighborhoods. We got to do that.
You mentioned Gwen Carr. That's the mother of the late Eric Garner. She's backing you. You know. So what's your plan in place to counter police brutality?
My whole policing plan. So I respect that, right? We got to have that. I'm a 6'4", 200-pound black man. It could happen to me. So my plan to do that is to, this mayor seems to have not done a hands-on job. So not accountable. You got to have accountability. So my plan is to have a deputy mayor for public safety, whose job is to interact with the community every day and to help day-to-day management of the NYPD. That's number one. Number two, have chain of command accountability. That is when one or more officers are involved in an overly aggressive act, the entire chain of command gets held accountable. Then, because we got so many issues of mental health out there, so many challenges in mental health, we're going to have an emergency social services bureau. Because 4 to 5 of the 10 calls that go into 911 today have to do with mental health issues. And so we can't have police going in. Let's get the professionals going in and invest in the mental health care. Professionals to intervene. Daniel Prude is one. You get a big black man, they put a hood over his head. Clearly he's had some challenges, and he ends up dead. That didn't need to happen. And then I want to make certain that the CCRB gets full investigative authority, meaning rather than take 48 days to look at video cam footage, I want them to do it in 48 hours. And they get the entire file. They review that. They make a recommendation to the commissioner, and based on the commissioner's response, I'm ultimately going to have responsibility. So I want it to rest with me. So that's how I'm going to deal with that.
Why are politicians so scared of police unions?
You got to ask the politicians on that, man. I ain't a politician.
Why do you think?
I don't know. You got to bring this city together right now, right? You got to bring it together and sit down and talk to them. You got to understand why the unions are thinking the way they are, why the commissioner thinks the way he is. And part of this, man, if you've been able to negotiate transactions where warring parties get together successfully at the end, you got to bring people to the table. You cannot abdicate this responsibility. You got to own it. I want to own it. I'll go sit and talk to them, right? I'll go to Massapequa. I'll go to where they are and sit and talk to them. It is in our collective best interest that this city operates better. And I got to have better policing. I'm a 6'4" black man. You can't profile me. You can't target me. We got to find a better way. Use some more intelligence than what you got now to figure out how we get these guns off the street.
Well, legislation has to change too, right?
And legislation's got to change. So you got to work with the city council, but all this has got to change. You got to have a plan to go do this.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, we have these conversations about the police in the hood, and it seems like the conversations we have about the hood, we should be having about the police. Meaning, like, when it comes to the hood and there's gun violence, we got to go in there and we got to take all the guns. When it comes to the police, it's we got to invest more resources and give them proper training. I feel like it should be the opposite. Give the hood more resources. Give the hood proper training so they have more opportunities. That's how you reduce the gun violence. And take the police guns.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I want to prevent. That's what I'm saying. We got to go in and invest. I completely agree. Let's go in and invest. I don't want to criminalize poverty, which is what's going down, right?
That's right.
Let's go in and invest to get that out of the equation. It's going to take a while, just given how entrenched and deep this is, but we got to start. We got to have leadership that starts. And I can redirect, this is the other thing that I will do, redirect funds from the NYPD to invest in the communities. I'll invest in the life camps of the world. She's out there doing the heavy lifting. Erica Ford's doing the heavy lifting.
That's right.
I'll invest in community centers. I got, so check this out. During the summer, I got no rims or nets on the backboard. I got no community center. I got no summer job. I got no tablet. I got no broadband. And I live in a small place with 5 or 6 other people. What do you think's going to happen?
That's right.
Right? So I got to invest. Part of my overall policing plan is investing in the community centers. I'm going to invest in jobs, summer jobs. In my education plan, every kid in the public school has got a summer job. That may mean I got to do public-private partnerships, but everybody's got a summer job. And I'm going to return to community policing. We used to have police athletic leagues. With the community and the police used to interact. We don't have that anymore. We used to know the officers in the neighborhood, right? We may not agree with them, but they know who we were. Something going down, listen, Ray, you can either get it done this way, I'll call your mother. You choose.
That's right.
We need to return to that.
Yep.
So we need to invest in things in our neighborhood. I grew up I had a summer job. I dug ditches. I laid tile. I changed bedpans. I DC'd IVs. I built boxes in the basement of Phil's dress shop, but it kept me out of trouble. Right. And I could go to Linden Center, right to community center. I could go to the boys club. We need to invest there. That kept me out of trouble. Was there clearly an element out there that wanted me to, be down with them? The answer, yeah. But because I had these other things that I could go to where people were investing in me, we don't have that option now. So you're right. We need to invest in our communities, in our neighborhoods, redirect some of those funds into the neighborhoods to stop it from the start and invest in those people like those violence interrupters who go in and who know where the bad element is and help prevent what's going on.
That's right.
Now, you said something before, and we talk about, people investing in living in different places, right? But how do we get out of those places if we have no funds or no savings to get out? Where's the help there? So, for instance, if somebody's been living in an apartment in Brooklyn and Queens and Harlem, and they're paying $1,500 a month, and they purchase a small home, and their rent is $1,500 a month, but where's the assistance for the down payment, the closing costs? Where do we get back to that and saying helping these people get in and teaching them? We come from a lot of places where a lot of times we're the first homeowner in our house, we're the first person to go to college in our house, we're the first person to graduate. So how do we help those individuals and those minorities get to a place where it'll never be even, but at least try to help the playing field a little bit?
So listen, my plan on home ownership, my overall housing plan goes from homelessness to home ownership. And in my home ownership plan, I have a way to provide a lot of the down payment. So, you get whatever you can do with a down payment, and then my plan is going to allow for us to subsidize that so you actually get on the home ownership. Today, too many New Yorkers are what we call rent burden. 40+% New Yorkers are rent burden, which means they pay 50 to 60+% of their income in rent.
Correct.
Right? We got to make sure that we eliminate that, give them truly affordable housing that goes from, they got area median income from below area median income, way below. The houses that we built today are for people who make $80,000 to $100,000. When you're going to build the right way, it's got to be for people who make less than $51,000. We got some projects like that. There's a big program that I just visited called the Bronx Commons, 163rd and Melrose, 300 and some odd units, and the rent goes from those people who are formerly homeless to people who are making, pretty decent money, but it goes from 30% AMI to 20 to 50, 40 to 50% AMI. They got a concert hall. They have a place for elderly. They got a gymnasium. They got solar panels. So this is the future. We got an example like that exists. We need to have more of them.
I seen something the other day that I don't know the name of it. I think it's called a cube home or box home.
Well, you get the modular homes.
Yeah, where it's not as expensive, but you got walls, you got bedrooms, you got things, and it doesn't cost as much to build. And I seen in a lot of the rural areas that it's helping a lot of people out. I was wondering if that would be good for the city.
It can be. You got to find the right place for it to happen, and you're going to get some resistance. But you're talking about the modular homes. So we got a couple of brothers in that business who are actually doing pretty well. And so, that's an option. That is an option.
That's usually a down south Midwest thing, though, because there's so much land.
So much land. So you got to find the land,
That's right?
I think it was like maybe not modular. It's like cube homes, and they were talking about doing it next to colleges now because it's not as big.
Right.
It might be too, but you can make a community, so you can put a pool in the whole cube community. But the houses were like $30,000 to $50,000. It wasn't that expensive to build, and it had everything. And You didn't have to worry about electric because it was solar panel, and
You
the
got
whole
solar,
community
right.
was solar. So you didn't have to worry about electric. You didn't have to worry about heating your water. And the way that it just sounded amazing. I think they're doing it a lot in Florida. I just thought that was a great idea.
You got more land, right? So when you got more land, you got more flexibility here. This is New York. Part of New York is just this density, right? You got to deal with the density, so you don't have that much width space. You got to go high,
Right.
and which is why we've built the way we've built.
You think Cuomo should step down?
Pardon?
Governor Cuomo, you think? he should step down?
Listen, I think these are serious allegations. I'm going to let Tish James go through and do her thing. You know, we should be about due process. If anybody's about due process, let the process work out. But these are serious allegations. We got to take them seriously, and she knows what she's doing.
What would you say to voters who might be doubting your capability to serve as mayor since this is your first political run?
Well, I would just say, look at the people who have been career politicians, and where's that landed us? Right? We've gone backwards under that. So right about now, voters I would say, you want me on that wall. You want somebody who's got that experience. I was a long and standing head. I've managed through crisis. I had to build teams. I had a vision. I had to execute on that vision. Through the depths of the financial crisis, I had to attract and retain the best talent. And I have a vision. So what we need now is somebody who's got a vision, somebody's got a track record of having, been held accountable, which is what I've done. I'm not a career politician. I'm an outsider. And the other thing they will know is my truth is my truth. I don't have to remember tomorrow what I told you today because it ain't going to change. Right. And so, I've been invested in and have stood for, been in the room to make certain that just look at the track record.
Another thing with New York, which always bothered me, it seems like when the minorities build something, whether it's a bar, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a club, and we have an infraction, maybe there was a fight, maybe there was a problem, maybe there was something across the street, they're so easy to shut it down. But then you look at some of these other businesses that's been there forever, and there would be fights, and there would be the same type of thing in that element. How do we make sure that doesn't happen? Because a lot of brothers out there put their whole life into a restaurant or a bar or a store. Something happens, shut down, and they have no conversation. Some days I would just go there and watch the court because they have it on court. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's horrible what they do to a lot of us.
So listen, this comes down to leadership, right? You got to have leadership. You have an example of somebody who actually has been on the inside, who knows.
And it started
how it
with
works.
Bloomberg too, by the way.
Pardon?
It started with Bloomberg with them shutting down.
So you got to make
businesses.
certain that you got somebody who they can look to and say, I got access here. This comes down to leadership. You got no leadership, man. I don't owe anybody any favors. Right? I'm only beholden to New York City. Nobody. I ain't in nobody's pocket. It ain't gonna change my lifestyle. I'm here for us. This ain't about me. As the GOAT says, it ain't about me. It's about we. That's what this is all about. So tell New Yorkers it's about we, and I'm stepped up. I call October 15th. I called my 94, 95-year mother and told her I quit my job. She said, "Boy, you lost your mind." But I told her why I was doing this. Right? We don't get it done. Ain't no Calvary. Ain't no Plan B. There's no Plan B. This is it, and we're going backwards.
When you think of somebody like Andrew Yang, because you're up here and you're talking about how you can get New York money. Andrew Yang wants to give New Yorkers money with the universal basic income. How do you combat something like that?
So let me be clear about this. First of all, you shouldn't have somebody run New York City whose first job is the mayor of New York City. That ain't gonna work. Number two, we need universal basic opportunity. The universal basic income. Let me just break down something. $1 billion for 500,000 people. That's $2,000 per person. That's $5 a day. So let's not hype the sugar rush. It ain't even a big sugar rush. So I don't want our people to get seduced on something like that. And first of all, you got to figure out where the money's coming from. Who's going to put that $1 billion up, and how you going to distribute it? You can't go with that advertisement and seduce black people. It don't work that way. Sounds good, but you got to be able to actually be held accountable for it, and you got to figure out how to pay for it. How you gonna get that? Where you gonna get that $1 billion from? I didn't told you how I'm gonna finance mine. Where's that $1 billion coming from? We shouldn't. Don't get so wrapped up in that. It does not work.
So you don't think UBI could work in New York?
No, man, that's a minnow. Don't give me a fish. Teach me how to fish. Right. And damn sure don't give me a minnow and won't be satisfied. No.
What's your thoughts on Eric Adams, the brother that he said that he was beat up and harassed by police as a young kid and decided he wanted to be a police to change the system inside, and he's also running. What are your thoughts on him?
Listen, I respect what he's done. Respect him as a police officer. I will say somebody's first big job should not be running New York City. I manage, budgets that are bigger than most state budgets. Last deal that I did was helping Time Warner negotiate its transition to AT&T. That was a $108 billion deal. So when it comes to these numbers, you got to have somebody who knows how to manage a large budget, large, complex organizations. This cannot be your first job.
Well, I'm sorry.
You can't, and then you can't. I don't need a translator. I know how budgets work. I know how large organizations work, and I've done it globally. Remember, the longest-standing head of that business in the history of Wall Street, in the history of corporate America. I didn't say black. I said the longest-standing head, period.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? If a city is in an economic crisis, why not have a finance guy at the helm? Like, how do you think your background in finance will help you get money to New York?
Well, it's not only a finance guy, but, it's a guy who grew up in the neighborhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this ability to understand exactly what's going on. I know what it's like not to have. My mother worked 3 jobs before she became a social worker.
But you also know money.
I also know money.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for us to get in the room, in order for us to make certain we part of this economic development, we need somebody who knows money. This is the money game. It's a $92 billion budget. That's money. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to get any part of that, you need to have somebody in there who understands how it works, who knows how to invest. As I said, I've created more jobs and got more people paid and created more wealth than all the other candidates combined. I just named 2 people. We done with that. I got my man Robert Smith. I gave his first job offer. It was my guy. And Robert Refkin, who just went public, who started with 0, and 2-3 weeks ago he went public at $7.5 billion.
That's who people need to Google. Robert. More people know Robert Smith now because his donation is more house. But Robert Refkin, you put me on to him. Like, yeah, people need to research that brother.
Or look at Sangu Deli, who's doing hospitals across Ghana. Or look at Ernie Lau. Or you name it. You go across. Look at my cat right there. Just did that.
Who?
Who's that sweater by right there?
I don't know. Right here?
Yeah. It's my guy who.
300? I think that's Kevin Lyles.
That's Kevin Lyles. And
Kevin's my cat, too.
Yeah.
We all go way back. So you need somebody who understands this game.
Mm-hmm.
In order for us to be included in the game, you need some leader who understands the game.
Mm-hmm.
You helped Russell sell Fat Farm, too, right?
I sold Fat Farm for Russell. Mm-hmm. That goes way back. That was one of the biggest deals done.
Mm-hmm.
So, being in the room, saw Russell cut the check up, how generous he was to the people who'd been with him. And I mean really generous. Breaking people off with some large sums. So I go way back, man. I'm not new to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you already have a comprehensive plan set in place for your job acceleration program?
Yes, I do. You can go to rayformayor.com. My housing plan is there. My comeback plan is called the largest, most inclusive economic comeback in the history of New York City. Mm-hmm. Housing is there. Jobs is there. My policing plan is there.
Mm-hmm.
So all of it is down.
Do you think race plays a role in being able to properly run New York as a mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Race does play a role. As I've said, being in this game for that long, I've gone through conscious and unconscious bias. So you need to have racial awareness, racial sensitivity. You understand how this works for everybody. But if you're black in this world, given what I've gone through to get to where I've got to, yeah, you gotta understand that. As I've said from the start, when the game starts, black man down 10 points, black woman down 15. You got to understand that. Right. You got to be better in order to be equal. You got to work harder. That's it. That's the real.
Damn. So we got to be better to be equal.
You got to be better. Don't sleep on that.
What do we got to be to win? What do we got to be to win then?
That's to get in the game. That's to get in the game. You understand, man? I was fortunate to get some nice paper, right? 3 degrees from Harvard. But what I know, that just starts the game. Mm-hmm. When you get in the game, you got to perform. Mm-hmm. That's it. You got to. How did I get here? Tell people I got here four ways. Prayer, because this has been a walk of faith. I want to be clear about that.
Absolutely.
Prayer, preparation. I know what it's like to not be prepared on occasion. You get embarrassed like that. Performance, when you get it, you got to perform, and you got to be held accountable. And then when you grow up the way I grew up, you got to have a little paranoia. So it's prayer, preparation, performance, and paranoia.
That's right. Absolutely. All right, give them the website again, Ray.
RayForMayor.com. RayForMayor.com. Do social media at RayForMayor.
All right, brother. Appreciate you for joining us.
Yes, sir.
It's The Breakfast Club. It's Ray McGuire.